Hello and welcome to this special show. We, of course, have an eminent panel which is connected to IITs across the country. Eminent panel consists of Avaneesh Tripathi, Rajiv Tripathi, Professor V. Ramagopal. Thank you all for being with us on this. The topic of discussion today, of course, is converting COVID-19 problems into opportunities through innovation and technologies by different IITs across the country. Avaneesh Tripathi, of course, is an advisor to the government as well, and also connected to IIT Kanpur's UNICED, which is the unit of science and education development, something that has been working very closely with the Avishkar Lab, the Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan as well. I want to start with Avaneesh Tripathi on this. Mr. Tripathi, COVID-19, I would say, doesn't really just pose us with problems. I think it's a far more deeper, graver problem. It's a challenge for humankind, more so for a country like India with our density of population as well as the inadequacies of our healthcare. But how can we see this as an opportunity through innovation to make sure we not only fight COVID effectively, but through innovative means? What has the Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan meant to UNICED, and how exactly is UNICED helping in the cause?
Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan is a program where MHRD connected different mentoring institutions like IIT and IITs and other research institutions. Like two research institutions, IIT Allahabad and IIT Delhi with us. Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan is with school education with laboratories, research laboratories, as well as innovation and technology. How through school education we link in field of research and innovation sector. That is basically Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan. As of now, it is started in 2015, and Global Innovation Index, we will see Global Innovation Index, we jumped around 29th position from 81 in 2015 to 52nd now. And Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan we have started in 2015. So impact is across the country. After COVID-19, during the COVID-19, most of the IITs and IITs, research institute, working day-night for development of different equipment, technology, support in this COVID situation. So that is all about Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan, where we are trying to connect school education with different mentoring institutions, support for innovation and technology.
Well, and it's not just education that innovation and technology can help in during these pandemic times. It is also the actual fight against the pandemic. We've seen how Professor Ramagopal, various IITs, including the one in Ropar, I believe, came up with a robotic instrument which was used to help give patients medicine so that nurses and doctors couldn't really go in. And that's an example, V. Ramagopal, of clear innovation being used to fight unnatural times really in these pandemic. What else has technology and innovation connected to IITs really helped in your opinion, in these times?
In fact, IITs have done pretty well during the COVID time. If you look at any academic institution, we are looking at three aspects for an academic institution. One is the education aspect. The second thing is the research, which is the knowledge generation part. The third aspect is the innovation. So these are the three things on which all institutions are supposed to show some output and something which can be measurable and all of that. And if you look at innovation particularly, innovation is inception to impact. That is what needs to be doing. And particularly because of COVID time, the relevance and delivery have become very important. There can be faculty members working on some other virus, or they can be faculty members working on COVID. But if somebody says, I will have a session next year, then it will not have any impact. Or if somebody says, I am working on something, but it's not relevant, it also not really impact. Therefore, the relevance and delivery, you need to be able to show results, and you need to put it out into the society in a matter of weeks to months. That is what we have been trying to do. In Delhi, for example, we have looked at all the three aspects. Is the prevention aspect. We are doing a lot of things now prevention part, development of PPEs, development of masks. I should tell you, in the last 3 months alone, now 4 million PPEs have been put out from IIT Delhi from the startups. 4 million in the last 3 months. That kind of impact you have been able to make. On the treatment side, we have the cheapest RT-PCR test now, which is out in the market, and we can now add to the RT-PCR test something like 2 million tests per month, which is again has come out of IIT Delhi technology commercialized by our licensees. So 2 million tests is what we are able to add to the country per month, from the treatment side, and the development, the detection side. On the treatment side, again, there are lots of activities going on in looking at traditional Indian medicines and how these medicines are actually, helpful in fighting COVID. So therefore, whether you look at the prevention, treatment, or detection, I think there are a lot of things are happening, and it's not just about IIT Delhi. Even if you take any other IIT like IIT Delhi or IIT Guwahati, a lot of things are happening. I think much of it has also happened because of our startups. Without these startups, things may not have come into market in such a short period of time. And now that we all have hundreds of startups on our campuses, so they have all been able to come up, in these times.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. The presence of startups really in terms of innovating, in terms of technology, helping to fight and making society better on a large scale. I also want to, in fact, refer to what you mentioned right now. For example, and I want to go across to Professor Rajiv Tripathi on this. It's not just the ward bot that I just mentioned by IIT Rupert. There are also many other IITs across the country, including the one in Palakkad, which developed an automating lung ultrasound for COVID-19, screening and monitoring, as in the cases of COVID-19 infections. It reports lung abnormalities. Also, there is IIT Kanpur, of course, which is currently in the process of developing a vaccine against COVID-19. There are many other examples that I have. In that respect, Professor Rajiv Tripathi, how much has it been helpful that the government has a renewed focus in terms of helping IITs and institutions across the country to develop that startup culture, get R&D in place? R&D, of course, the usual refrain is it's been ignored or has been ignored. Do you think anything has changed in that respect in the last few years in terms of the government hand-holding institutions like IIT Kanpur and Kharagpur in terms of building an environment for startups that help?
As far as NITs are concerned, yes, government initiatives which have taken place over the last 2-3 years in terms of adding design and innovation center, design and incubation center, they have been established at different NITs, and IITs they were already having probably, as my colleague has already pointed out, that as an institution, our activity we classify into 3 different parts: teaching and learning, that is number 1, and then research, and then knowledge or technology transfer. So a lot of activities are going on in almost all the NITs in terms of design and innovation centers have been established. Small products, they are coming up. COVID-19 specifically has given us an opportunity, and we immediately took up this opportunity on all these 3 fronts, because prior to that, only computer science and engineering department was using this online technique for education, teaching and learning. We immediately, from the end of March, we switched over to online teaching, completed it, and we did all the online examination also we did. And finally, we are ready with the start of new semester. That is one part. On the innovation side, we started with Verilizer. Verilizer was the UVC killing the bacteria and viruses of COVID, and that prototype model was immediately developed in the first week of April. And we transferred this technology to one of our industry, which was closely located in our campus. So I'm happy that as of now we have been able to supply those UVC sanitizers to Allahabad High Court. we developed this ViroShield for doctors and medical professionals who are working in ICCU and police personnel, security guards. We distributed it free of cost. And
a lot of help in terms of technology, innovation and providing solutions. And I want to go back to Avaneesh Tripathi on this. Avaneesh, this is not just the direct fight against COVID. There's also, as you mentioned and as the other panelists mentioned as well, something to be said about the work being done as far as this particular program is concerned in the field of education during COVID-19. Now, I know for a fact that you have had programs that help people, especially students in this time of COVID. Online learning has been the only go-to as far as COVID education is concerned. But there are many challenges in that respect as well. How have you overcome those challenges in terms of, let's say, testing and grading results as well? What about people who don't have access to great internet connections, poor kids who are students who have been losing out really on their education, on their class time? What are the solutions that UNICEF has proposed in that respect?
Online teaching and learning is good for higher education institutions, but as far as concerned school education, only 18% government school having functional computer and internet facility in their school in rural areas. So there are so many challenges. Although government is dealing with a lot of work they are doing with respect to these challenges, like some channels did some portal at MHRD level. As far as concern for UNICEF and Rashtriya Avishkar Lab is supporting mentoring institutions as well as the school education. And in terms of MSME also, in these Rashtriya Avishkar Labs, in Delhi prima facie 136 established, coordination with MHRD, Delhi government, IIT Kanpur, UNICEF. And these labs will support basically providing the infrastructural support like adult tinkering lab and mentoring support from different IITs. I'll request Director IIT Delhi also to support in these labs, Rashtriya Avishkar Lab, where we will connect MSME with the school education as well as higher education institution with the school education for mentoring.
This year, we will not celebrate our birthday. We'll put our own joys aside and bring joy to others. We'll stand by those in need and support the nation. Our birthday will be a little different this year. We won't celebrate. Bandhan Bank. Sabka bhala. Desh ki bhalai.
ThyroCare. The trust. The truth.
We are fascinating.
Yes, I am.
We launch rockets to Mars, but we also do this. We're inventive, optimistic, incredibly ambitious, easily distracted. And that's okay. Yoga is made for all of us, helping you to create, helping you to remember, to keep going. We're just impressed. Whatever your thing, we got you. Lenovo Yoga for all of us.
Bad breath? Never. Because now you can get fresh breath with Vico Soft. Vico Vajratanti now in soft flavor.
This is Mark. This is Preet. They never agreed with each other until they drove the new Skoda Rapid. Mark likes mileage. Preet likes power. The new Skoda Rapid TSI satisfies both sides. Skoda, simply clever.
अब कितना नचाओगे? जल्दी homeloans.sbi पे जाइए और टॉप अप लोन पाइए। SBI होम लोन हो सकता है।
करो वायरसेस और बैक्टीरिया पर अटैक Savlon Hexa एडवांस सोप के साथ। Savlon Hexa, Savlon एडवांस सुरक्षा।
मम्मी कहती है सिर्फ कैंट देता है सबसे शुद्ध पानी, इसीलिए हम पीते हैं सिर्फ केंटारो का पानी।
तो आप केंटारो कब ला रहे हैं?
Move back the beat, move back the music, move back the beat, move back the music.
Kimday venue, now with IMT.
Since you mentioned the need for stronger linkages between not just IIT Delhi but others as well in terms of making sure that some innovation, some help is extended to the MSME sector. And I wanted to speak about the MSME sector, particularly given the fact that that's one sector that has been the hardest hit because of the pandemic, and that's no secret really, even the government admits that. Now, what are the solutions that you currently are looking at in terms of giving a boost to MSMEs, in terms of not just reducing costs and maintaining and upping efficiency, but other ways as well?
COVID in front of MSME sector, and our higher education institution must come up in front to support them in terms of innovation, because innovation is only to lead development in any country. You will see in India, there is public investment on R&D is comparatively low. Countries like Israel, it is 4% of GDP, South Korea, Japan and USA around 3%, China around 2%. And we have around 0.7 to 0.7%. So there is requirement of public investment increase and expenditure on R&D basically. And to enhance and capacity building of these mentoring institutions, to improve the MSME sector also, because MSME is a lot of innovation now, because there is a huge chances and opportunities in artificial intelligence, IoT, 5G technology, robotics, autonomous mobility, quantum computing, nanotechnology. So we need to take the support from these mentoring institutions like IITs and NITs to develop and enhance capacity building.
Ramagopal to come in here and extend the argument here that we all understand, Professor Ramagopal, that more not just money in terms of research funding, but also a little bit of hand-holding is required as far as the government is concerned. But as far as the MSME sector is concerned, I would like your input on this, and also to link it with what Avaneesh was saying, that the MSME sector could benefit majorly. The potential is sky high if educational institutions like IIT Delhi and others around the country contribute in terms of not only reducing costs, maintaining and upping efficiency through innovation and technology. I would like your thoughts on that, Professor Ramagopal.
That's a very good point. In fact, if you look at IITs traditionally, our focus was always interacting with the big industries, because they are the ones who can fund your research, and we have always been looking at big industries for support and solve their problem. Now, thanks to Government of India policies, now the startup culture has really picked up very well. Now, like I said, our IITs now, I believe you could find at least 100 startups on the campus. Now, the medium scale industries are also coming now into our fold. One of the ways we are doing is at IIT Delhi, we have created a smart manufacturing lab where we are specifically developing automation technologies, industry 4.0 kind of technologies, but small and medium scale sectors, so that they can automate their processes more efficiently and become more productive. So there is a laboratory here we have created with about 40 crore kind of funding, where half the money has come from industries. So that's also one way we are reaching some of these industries. But also,
the startups, for example, when we try to put out some of our research results into the society as part of COVID, one of the things we also realized is startups don't have the manufacturing facilities. So they eventually outsource their manufacturing to the small and medium scale industries, and so that combination of startups working with the medium scale industries is one way we are able to support some of these MSMEs as well. I think it's all one unit in a way. So while the large industries can help us with funding and other things, I think the impact we can create more in the startup system and also the small and medium scale industries. That is what we are looking at as an IIT.
Professor Ramagopal, I also want to pick your brains, if that's the right expression. Not just MSMEs or big industries. What about farmers? We understand about 60 to 70% of this country's population is involved in agriculture somehow. That's a huge field, and as like everything, has been hit by COVID-19. What about integration with the farm sector as far as, let's say, innovating apps, mobile apps for their market-linked queries are concerned, or for that matter, for mentoring, for training and guidance to these farmers? Has there been any progress made on that front?
No, it's a very important point you raised. 50% of India's population in some way is dependent on the agricultural sector, and IITs haven't really had much of a presence in the agricultural sector simply because, we have been so discipline oriented, and agriculture tends to fall through the cracks. And also there is ICAR, Indian Council for Agricultural Research, and their own institutions focusing on agriculture. But things are changing now. In the last 5 years alone, I can tell you there are lots of startups that are coming out of the IITs. For example, at IIT Delhi, you find for a Center for Rural Development and Technology, CRDT, where you will find at least 150 PhD students working on problems related to rural areas, and many of them are concerning the agricultural sector. For example, doubling the farmer's income. How would you double the farmer's income in the next couple of years or 2 or 3 years? The only way you can do that is by introducing new technologies into the farm sector, and these could be, leading to precision agriculture. But for that, you need low-cost technologies, you need soil health monitoring systems, you need water conservation technologies. All of that falls under the domain of engineers. So now I am very happy to see that there are many faculty members getting interested in agriculture. In fact, IIT Delhi signed an MOU with the Indian Council for Agricultural Research. We started large projects now jointly with ICAR looking at water conservation. Can you reduce water usage by automating the irrigation system? Or can you develop low-cost systems for soil nutrient monitoring? And help
important points you flagged there, Professor V. Ramagopal, and I'm glad that you have, because I have limited time, but I want to go back to Rajiv Tripathi on this. First of all, do you agree with what Professor Ramagopal had said in terms of not just the MSME sector, but also the farm sector? And also, what is the wish list really as far as education, it's like you gentlemen are concerned, not just from the government, but also private players, in terms of not just investing long-term in R&D, but also setting sustainable goals in these respects?
First of all, I would like to just supplement as far as NITs are concerned. Fortunately, at IIT Allahabad in 1975, we established 68 industrial estate sheds, which were primarily a basic manufacturing unit, and that's why how we could, whatever we could develop as a part of this MHRD project, EIC, we could easily transfer it to those industry, and immediately they started manufacturing, and we were able to beat the situation in the health sector as well as in High Court and other places which I mentioned earlier. Now, as far as the education sector is concerned, we have a greater role, and with this new education policy coming into picture, for the effective implementation of new education policy, we need to have training of faculty members, training of trainers, and that is where this online technology, online training modules, online laboratory things, all those things where we have to play a very important role as an higher educational institutions, and not only for higher educational institutions, but as you said, also in the school education, we need to play a very crucial role, and we can adopt the schools, government schools nearby in our area, and we can start doing activities there.
Right.
And agriculture sector also, Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. Every institution has taken 4, 5, 6 villages, and we have already started those things in terms of interacting with those villages which have been adopted. And further, yes, looking at all these challenges, we can further penetrate into those schemes and effectively implementing and making our presence felt at the agriculture sector also.
All right. I have very limited time left, so I'll ask Avaneesh Tripathi to round this off for us in a brief period of time. If you had to wish, give me a wish list of 3 big takeaways or 3 big wishes that educationists like you working with the government, apart from the government, would be in the next 5 years. What would those 3 things be, Avaneesh? Briefly, if you could.
First is public investment in R&D sector must be up to 2% of the GDP, which is very essential for growth of a nation. Currently, it is 0.6 to 0.7%. Rashtriya Avishkar Lab under RA program reach up to each village in collaboration with central, state government, IITs and IITs, UNICEF, different research institute to strengthen self-reliant Bharat post-COVID-19. My third wish, a concept of self-reliant panchayat developed by UNICEF in collaboration with different IITs and IITs, IIMs, covering all aspects of rural livelihood strengthen and support required at the end of CSR government partners to reach up to each panchayat.
Each list is long, and that's understandable. Avaneesh Tripathi, I must thank all 3 of you gentlemen for giving us time on this to get us an idea, really, a window into what exactly is happening in the innovation space as far as our top institutions like IITs across the countries and NITs, of course, are concerned, how they are helping not just with the fight directly against COVID-19, but also turning these challenges, these problems into opportunities. There is no dearth of talent as far as innovation is concerned in the country. Perhaps a little bit more hand-holding and more penetration of those policies, better implementation of those policies, and far-sighted, let's say, 5-year plans or goals would, of course, accelerate the process of innovation and actually helping us in our daily lives, pandemic or no pandemic. That's all the time we have for this special show. Thank you for watching. My name is Akhtar Khan. Goodbye.
Hello, MG. Open